not have Hingle McCringleberry, but we do have Keegan-Michael Key joining us live. Going to be absolutely epic. Plus, legacies on the line for the ladies. March Madness tourney previews galore. And Luka, LeBron, the Lakers, they win again. What's it mean? We break it all down for you right now on
Yahoo Sports Daily!
Oh, let the chaos begin. It's Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. I'm just feeling excited. Let's go. It's Tourney Day. This is one of the best days in all of sports.
Christmas.
Caroline is obviously. Yes. Big watch. We got a lot to get into. We're going to watch all these games today. We'll have reactions all day coming into this thing. Yahoo Sports will have on-demand reactions for you. This show is going to have reactions for you. We're going to get into the minutia here of the tournament with some bold tournament previews. So let's just start right here, out of the gate. Caroline Fenton, how many brackets did we do this year? How many brackets are you allowed?
So I did one men's, one women's, not because I hold myself to only one bracket per. It was just because, hey, we have a Yahoo Sports bracket mayhem. So I wanted to get involved in both the men's and women's. You can too. So I just did one on both sides just because ain't nobody got time for all that to do more than one bracket. But if you want to do 54 brackets for both the men's and women's, be my guest. There are far too many rules in this life. We have way too many things that we are required to do as adults and human beings to put rules on things that are just fun. So don't let anyone tell you that you can only do 3 brackets for men's and women's. Don't let anyone tell you that you can only do a certain number of brackets. Don't put limits on yourself. You don't have to. This is fun. This is a fun time of year. And if you want to do 147 brackets on Yahoo Sports Bracket Mayhem, please be my guest. Enjoy and have fun. If you want to do one bracket that's serious and one bracket just because you're in a silly, goofy mood, please, by all means, do as many as you want. Go crazy, have fun, because life is just too short to put a limit on the number of brackets that you can do. Don't let the haters stop you from doing your thing.
All right, so here's the thing. I'm with you.
Are you a hater?
In principle, everything you just... No, I'm not a hater at all. I'm the farthest from a hater. I'm a beacon of light in a dark, dark world, right? I personally do one. But also, I'm going to be honest with you. I've had to fill out a few different brackets in a few different places. I think they're the same. I don't know. Anybody that's coming in and telling you that they've really studied the ins and outs of some of these matchups, no. Right? So most of the time, we're just sort of throwing darts against a wall to see what kind of sticks, right? I get that. I would say this. If you are a person that does one bracket, congratulations. I love that for you. That's what I personally do. If you're a person that does 20 brackets, fine. Go out there. Just don't talk to me like you're some sort of an expert if you did 20 brackets. If you're willing to admit when you win your bracketology that you were lucky, you didn't know what you were doing, or that you did 20 brackets and just sort of tried to see what could stick for you, that's fine. If you're going to swaggy walk in like you're Vince McMahon coming to the ring because you won this whole thing on one of your 57 different brackets, I have a little bit harder time with that. That's the person that comes in and talks their talk when they nail a parlay and they're like, my parlay, look at this, I'm a golden god, without telling you about the other 150 parlays they played this year that they lost. Nobody ever seems to remind you when they win these things. They don't remind you of all the losing they did in the process. All I'm saying, Caroline, you can fill out as many brackets as you want as long as you have integrity at the end when you win and say, oh, yeah, I did 72 brackets. I don't even know what I picked in that one. I just happen to win. I just don't want you to walk into the room and be like, I'm basically the best college basketball mind ever because I won on this one out of my 331 brackets. That's all. That's all I'm asking.
There are a lot of basketball experts.
Man,
a lot of basketball experts
I don't know
this time
too.
of year. Yeah.
It is
coming out the woodworks.
Amazing.
But there
and then the people.
Sentiment. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, the people that will tell you that you're a moron with what you've picked in this process, they've really studied Lehigh. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And look, nobody knows anything, okay? No, like if you want to be like, oh yeah, that was that guy who absolutely knew that whoever Duke is playing today, I don't have the bracket pulled up in front of me, but yeah, I picked Duke to win that game. It's like, yeah, no duh, it's a 1 and a 16 seed, like it's Duke. I will though say there is an overwhelming sentiment where I hear a lot of people say this every year that nobody cares about your brackets. Don't tell me about your bracket. I care. You can tell me about your bracket. If you picked the epic upset, like last year, for example, the 5-12 matchup, Clemson and McNeese, I picked McNeese to beat Clemson. And I was really excited about it. And I wanted to tell people about it. But everyone was like, I don't care about your bracket. You know what? I do. Tell me about that crazy, epic upset that you picked. Tell me that you spotted that Cinderella from a mile away. Like, tell me about your brackets. Tell me about your upsets. Tell me about how you're winning. Post your Spotify Wrapped because I want to see what music you were listening to and I want to see what was your top artist of the year. Share all of your tiny little wins with me and with us here on Yahoo Sports Daily because I do care about your bracket and I do care about your fantasy team because life's too short to not celebrate those things.
God, that's why I love working with you every day. All right, so let's get to some of the Cinderellas. All right, lowest seeded team that you have winning in round one. Who do you have that's at least a low seed coming out?
Yeah, I have VCU upsetting North Carolina today or tomorrow whenever they play. VCU is the 11 seed, and I'm learning that that's a very popular pick. I thought it was being kind of like a cool, deep cut hipster picking this upset. Turns out that's like the most common upset that's being picked across all of the Yahoo Sports brackets. My bad, didn't realize that. But North Carolina is a much, much, much different basketball team without Caleb Wilson than they are with Caleb Wilson. And so they're not going to have Caleb Wilson for the rest of the tournament. He is out for the remainder of the season with an injury. So I think that North Carolina is coming into this awfully vulnerable. And then you have VCU that competed in a much more competitive A10 than I think that we give them credit for. They just won their conference championship game. And I think that going deep into your conference championship game can do one of two different things. One, you're either gassed, you're exhausted, and you're limping into the tournament, or you're swaggy walking into the tournament. You have all of the confidence in the world. You go into this thing saying, we're playing with house money. We can't be stopped. And if that is in fact the latter, then that is a very, very dangerous feeling for any opponent that team might be facing. So I'm taking VCU to take down North Carolina in the round of 64. Sorry, Dad.
I think that's bold. Look, I think that's very bold. Congratulations. I like that. I've got, there's a couple here. I do have only a few upsets. Obviously, Northern Iowa I've talked about a lot, as an upset potential that I like. But the lowest seed that I have advancing is actually a 13. So, I've got a couple of 13s that have a real opportunity. Troy over Nebraska just feels trendy because, as I keep saying, Nebraska's literally never won an NCAA tournament game. So you'd think at some point they get off the schneid, but I don't know. I mean, this is a Nebraska team that started off incredibly hot, 20 wins in a row, and everybody said you must respect them, and then they sort of fell apart down the stretch. Do they write that and they get everything? I don't know. There's a lot of pressure, too. You know that these players are feeling that we've never won an NCAA tournament game. So I like that one, but even bigger, Hofstra over Bama. Bama, obviously, now without their second leading scorer for reasons far bigger than basketball, and now all of a sudden we end up with the Hofstra team taking on an Alabama team that's missing one of their main scorers, and it's an Alabama team that, man, look, I know this feels like a cop-out, feels like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. Alabama can shoot so well, and they press so hard. They can put up so many points. I could see Alabama just absolutely running away because they're just that good, but I could also see just enough disruption of rhythm for a Hofstra team that can also score, kind of like this. So, look, if we're getting into upsets, we got to get into a little bit of crazy and a little bit of chaos, right? So that's why I kind of lean. So even though I think a lot of this tournament goes chalk, we do have an opportunity, I think, for a couple of 13 seeds to do the impossible, not to mention, again, the common concept of Northern Iowa being able to do something as a 12 seed. How about this? On Monday morning, when the first weekend of action is all in the books, give me a player you think we'll be talking about Monday.
Robbie Avila at St. Louis. I think that the Billikens are going to take down the Georgia Bulldogs in the round of 64. Look, these are two teams that have incredibly efficient offenses and they score a lot of points. Both of these teams are hovering right around the average of 90 point per game mark. So I think that this is going to be a back and forth battle. This is going to be, I would venture to guess that there's going to be a lot of lead changes in this one. Sure, Georgia has the better players. Georgia has more size, but SLU, it shoots the three better. St. Louis is a better three-point shooting team than Georgia. And this time of year, I'm willing to ride or die with a team that lives and dies by the three. So I'm taking St. Louis. I'm taking Robbie Avila, the A10 player of the year. St. Louis's leading scorer, Milk Chamberlain, the Rex Specs King. I'm riding with Robbie Avila to take down the big bad Georgia Bulldogs in advance. I'm in a big A10 mood today. Shout out to the A10.
Yeah, you are. By the way, this was I played Daily Draw this morning, which you can play in the Yahoo Sports app. It's great. Like you go in and you open up a group of cards, and it gives you some options from games that give you different points, and you pick the cards you want. This was the game that was there for Daily Draw today, and I was excited about it because, to your point, points galore all over the place. So I was just swiping every card. I kept all the cards that gave me scoring galore because this one feels like hammer the over. When we're talking about players, I'll be talking about on Monday. I think the headline goes down goes to Bonsa, right? Like, look, I'm already out here trying to sell newspapers, but I love AJ, the player. I don't love BYU, the basketball team. I don't love BYU's first round matchup. So I think there's a real opportunity here. That's why I keep saying watch AJ, because it might be the only time we get to see him on the floor in an NCAA tournament matchup. That's the crazy part about being the phenom that he is. But BYU gets Texas at this point. They get a Texas team that I think is a little tougher than people realize that Texas is going to be for a BYU team that has been really inconsistent. And by the way, their win, if they're able to win this basketball game, they get Gonzaga next. So presumably, looks like I think it could be a tough weekend for AJ DeBonta. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get this long run for BYU, but I don't feel great about BYU at all. How about this? When you did your bracket, how many 1 seeds are in your Final Four?
I have 2 1 seeds in my Final Four. Now, if I kind of, that was wishful thinking a little bit because I didn't want just a copy and paste of last season when we had all 4 1 seeds. I like it when we have a little bit of craziness and wild and crazy going into the Final Four, but I do have Arizona and Florida, those 2 1 seeds advancing, but I have Michigan State coming out of their side of the bracket. That side of the bracket in the East seems like it has the most chaos potential. That's the side of the bracket with Duke and UConn and Kansas and St. John's and Michigan State and UCLA. It is star-studded with all kind of Hall of Famers at the coaching position scattered on that side of the region. So I do have Michigan State coming out of that region. I think that's going to have the highest likelihood for a chaos scenario. And I have Iowa State taking down Michigan in the Elite Eight to come out of the Midwest.
Yeah, well, I've even gone more chalky than you have. It's so funny. We posted videos yesterday on social of our picks, and somebody was like, "Oh, he takes a pause every time he picks an upset, like he didn't just go with a bunch of ones." Well, I think a bunch of ones are going to win. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I've got Michigan in the Final Four. I've got Florida in the Final Four. Yeah, the Florida one was tough for me. Houston, I could see, especially with that game being essentially in Houston. I can see that playing into it. Duke is the only team that I didn't have with the 1 seed making it in, and it's just injuries. I think injuries plus a really tough bracket make that one difficult for me. So the lowest seeded team in my Final Four then is UConn, and I don't feel great. Like the East, I don't feel great about anything in the East. I could see UConn going all the way to the Final Four. I could see UConn getting bounced in one of these games. So UConn's my lowest seeded Final Four team as a 2 seed. I realize that's not really daring. What about you?
Well, mine was Michigan State. I had Michigan State, the 3 seed coming out of that side of the bracket. But look, and you're going to get dragged. I've already gotten dragged for going awfully chalky, but it's like, do you want to be cute or do you want to be right? And I just think both on the men's and women's side of the bracket, it's going to be awfully chalky. Like I felt pretty bold just by picking a 3 seed in Michigan State. And we're talking about a future Hall of Fame coach in Tom Izzo that's been in this position before. So, if you are someone that went awfully chalky, lots of 1s and 2s, maybe a 3 scattered in there, look, you are not alone. And I don't think you're wrong in that.
Yeah, we either get destroyed when we put the brackets out, or we get destroyed at the end when the brackets are done, and everybody says you're an idiot for not picking it
Internet's
right.
just mean.
I'd rather be right in the end. I'd rather be right at the end. Speaking of UConn, who I have going in, what round does Hurley lose his mind? How long does Hurley make it before he has a meltdown?
Oh, no, pregame press conference before their first game. Like, I don't even think that he gets to the
Yes.
hardwood. I don't even think that, like, the clock is ticking down. Like, he's already going to have a shade of red on his face that scientists are going to have to study. They didn't even think that humankind could get to that level of anger before the ball even tips off.
Yeah, look, I gave it the first TV timeout of game one where he's not happy, even though they're up like 40-3. He's still losing his mind. Hurley losing his mind is something you can bank on. All right, so let's recap our picks. Let's get a full screen up here.
Yep.
We'll show you everything that we've got. Get a little bit of action here to let you know some of our chaos. This is our hot takes. These are our bold predictions Josh will put up for us to see kind of how we compare on some of our bold takes. Again, we both think it's kind of chalky, but I like how we get this. You see it there. Follow your heart, only one. You see some of the upsets we've gone over within 5 minutes pregame for Hurley. This is great. I feel like we're close to the same, but we're not exactly the same, which leads me just to a reminder to everybody. By the way, like, I don't think there's a lot of shock and awe in this tournament. Shock and awe for you if you participate in Bracket Mayhem. You can beat the buzzer. Yahoo Fantasy Bracket Mayhem brackets now open, still open. You got a shot at $50,000. Fill out your men's and women's brackets for a chance to win $25K in both tournaments. Visit yahoofantasy.com/bracket mayhem. That's yahoofantasy.com/bracket mayhem. Fill out your brackets right now. Plenty of bracket talk to continue. We are just getting underway as we continue to break it all down. But coming up next, we'll take a look from the men's side to the women's side and figure out from the women's tournament which legacies have the most on the line. Coming up next.
You had 27 points in your third game. What do you remember from that night?
Oh man, it was great. Once the first one drops, like, I was like, okay, we're good to go. Then the second one, then the third one, and then you get to like this mode where it's kind of like unconscious. It feels like practice in a way. It was just like every time I shot it, it was like I was outside playing on just like my mini hoop. You know what I mean? Outside in the front yard. It also, I think, gave my teammates confidence too. Like, damn, he probably can shoot. You know what I mean? So, we should get him the ball.
What do you think is your best route, and what is your favorite route to run?
I would feel like it's probably like a stop route or something.
That's a good answer.
Like a stop route. My favorite route to run, I like to run digs.
This is from early in your rookie season. That was the best one there, was the dig route. So I think you're doing pretty well there.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Okay, good answer. That was very validating for me personally, and I'm glad that you feel that way. So, okay, you mentioned...
I gave you validation.
You gave me validation, bro.
I like that.
Bro, that's what this is all about.
I like that.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first we did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around.
So
and I think
cool.
we still check up on each other.
Very
I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Breaking news, Yahoo Sports Daily. This just in from Shams. Detroit Pistons star Cade Cunningham has been diagnosed with a collapsed lung and is expected to miss an extended period of time, sources tell ESPN. This is obviously number one. First and foremost, health is always the biggest concern for any player, especially Cade coming into this. Like, anytime you have a collapsed lung and you're talking about an athlete, we've seen this in the NFL several times. This can be a very serious injury that takes a minute to recover from. It's an extended amount of time that he's expected to miss. And Caroline, for all the conversation that we've had, about Cade and his MVP candidacy and the Detroit Pistons being, as far ahead of schedule to where they are, the dominance that he's had on the court, the dominance they've had on the court. This is a catastrophic moment for the individual and for they try and figure out how to rebound and move forward.
I mean, this is, I'm glad that you pointed that out. First and foremost, Cade Cunningham's health is of the utmost important thing. You're a human first and you're a basketball player second. So I hope that Cade Cunningham is okay. I hope that all of his doctors and his people, all the people in his corner have come up with a treatment plan moving forward to make sure that he is safe moving forward. But then, of course, there's the necessary basketball conversation that comes next. With the collapsed lung, I am no doctor, but I have to imagine that that timeline can be kind of murky. It's easy to say, okay, sprained ankle, you're up for the next 4 to 6 weeks or whatever it might be. Well, when you're working with an organ, and an organ that's awfully important when you're running up and down a basketball court, I can assume that that treatment and that recovery is not linear. So now we have a question mark of a timeline of when Cade Cunningham can come back on the floor. And the Detroit Pistons come and go as Cade Cunningham comes and goes. There's a reason why Cade Cunningham is top 3, top 5 in MVP odds right now. It's because he is one of the most important players to his respective basketball team than any other player across the National Basketball Association. So the Detroit Pistons, without Cade Cunningham, what are they? Now, look, the Pistons are still at the top of the East. I think we all still view the Pistons as a contender in the East. But if Cade Cunningham is out for the next month to 2 months, I don't view Detroit as a contender anymore. I mean, the Celtics are 3.5 games back of the Pistons, and the Celtics are on a 3-game winning streak. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Jason Tatum is getting healthier and is getting back out on the court. Now, does he look like 100% Jason Tatum? No, he doesn't. But I would be willing to ride with Jason Tatum. So this is, I would say, incredibly unnerving, not just for Cade Cunningham and for his health, but this is incredibly unnerving for Pistons fans that don't have a clear vision for Cade Cunningham's return.
When you look at some of the games that are upcoming for Detroit, and again, this is the breaking news, Cade Cunningham collapsed lung, expected to miss extended time. And when you think about some of the games that they have upcoming, on Monday, they have the Lakers, right? Next Saturday, the 28th, they have Minnesota. They have the Timberwolves a couple of times in this process. They've got Oklahoma City on March 30th. These are tough games. And to your point, as well as Detroit has played over the course of this year, they have a 3.5 game lead in the conference, and home court is going to matter. So all of this, for all of the success that the individual and the team has had, is just a reminder that so much can change between now and the end of the season that has so much actionable consequence to the way that we'll view success or failure for the Pistons moving forward. If the concept was, what is success for the Pistons coming into as well as they played this year, it's a shot at the NBA Finals, right? I don't think you and I, when we've talked, have been pretty clear that the Pistons, while very good, maybe we don't see them as a championship team, but they're certainly a championship contender. Without Cade, I don't know how you do that, right? So, and then how does your team sort of quickly rebound and gather themselves to be able to put together the best version of themselves on the floor that they can without their best player? It's so catastrophic in the NBA because losing that one player has such tremendous meaning. Certainly, Oklahoma City has dealt with injuries all year long, and they've been able to persevere through that. The Celtics have dealt with not having Tatum for so much of the year, and they've been even better than expected. If you're Pistons fans right now, what you're saying is, okay, all we got to do is sort of keep this thing afloat until Cade can come back, and we'll be just fine. But there's so many questions that today we can't have an answer to. How long is it going to take for the lung to be right? Mm-hmm. When it is right, how is it going to treat him? How is it going? This is a cardio sport, right? The amount of running that is involved in this. How will his lungs react to the treatment? How healthy will they be when he is put back out there? There are so many variables in Carolina. It just hits me that we watched a playoff run last year where we saw team after team after team losing a superstar and suddenly having their championship odds change drastically overnight due to one substantial injury. For the Pistons to be doing that right now, it's just a reminder of what we went through last year in the playoffs, where great teams didn't have the opportunity to see the great finish they hoped because of injuries. I can only hope that Cade gets back in time to play meaningful basketball in the playoffs. But as we sit today, right now, with the news coming to us live, we can't know the answer to that. And suddenly it makes us view the entire season differently for Detroit.
And important to point out that this could be an effect of back contusions that we knew that Cade Cunningham had been dealing with over the last couple of days. Yesterday on the injury report, Cade Cunningham was already ruled out for the Pistons game tonight with back contusions. Now, if I want to totally and completely speculation based off of zero reporting, just based off of my own knowledge, getting treatment and people that I know that have gotten treatment before. We saw it with Tyrod Taylor, who suffered a collapsed lung when he was getting anesthesia several years ago. It is possible that if Cade Cunningham was getting acupuncture or dry needling done to treat his back spasms, that could have caused a punctured lung. I've seen it before. A dear friend of mine actually suffered a collapsed lung from getting dry needling done. They're teeny tiny little needles, and you don't really notice it, but it could poke the teeniest, tiniest hole in your lung, and then that leads to your lung collapsing. Now, again, that is total and complete speculation, but I think it's fair to maybe draw some parallels between the back contusion that Cade Cunningham has been dealing with over the past couple of days, not weeks, not months, but the past couple of days, something that was so bad that would have left him off the court tonight, to potentially this collapsed lung.
Well, and that's exactly what TJ Watt dealt with. Remember last year, TJ Watt was having dry needling done, and as a result, the lung collapsed, and he had to have surgery, and he missed a very long time. And that's where, again, we come back to this. Guys and girls at this level are putting so much into treatment, into their bodies, to try and be the best version of themselves that they can be on the court. And you're just trying to find a way to mitigate pain and get yourself back on the court. But this is sort of that worst case scenario nightmare where, you're not just losing a player, you're losing the player. You're not just losing a guy, you're losing the guy. And it's hard for me to have spent so much time on air with this show over the course of the last month praising the MVP candidacy of Cade Cunningham, and not today feel like, even for me, a gut punch for the Pistons, because we can't have it both ways, right? Like, it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt without somebody that not only is he such a huge part, obviously, of what it means for their scoring and how they play, but just when you need a bucket, he's that guy. Who's going to step? It's easy to say next man up, but that's harder to actually execute. Now, just thinking about the timing of this and where we sit right now, we're sitting here in mid-late March, and you just start quickly doing the math and saying, okay, well, if this is a month or two, now all of a sudden, then you have the question of what's it mean for his conditioning when he's trying to get back into the playoffs? Can he get back into the playoffs? What's it all look like? These are questions. Again, we can't have the answer. The breaking news: he's been diagnosed with a collapsed lung, expected to miss an extended period of time. I don't want to Kermit the Frog and run around with my arms flailing in the air saying, until we know exactly what an extended amount of time looks like. But Caroline, it's hard not to hear extended amount of time, especially as packed as the top of the East is, and not think, wow, even if he's back on the court, will Detroit be the same? Will Detroit have that same home court opportunity? How much of just their path? It's like choose your own adventure books that were so popular when I was a kid, where if you want to turn left, turn to page 72. This just took a jarring change to what we see for the future of the Pistons season. Even if Cade Cunningham is healthy enough to play in the playoffs, how much different is the journey when he gets there versus what it would have been if he remained healthy for the rest of the regular season?
I think the lack of clarity is it. I don't want to say it's fair to run around like Kermit with your, hands flail all over the place, but I think that does add another level of anxiety for the Pistons organization and probably for Pistons fans. If you got a definitive window that, hey, Cade Cunningham is out for the next 4 weeks, you can start to speculate. You can start to look at the schedule ahead and say, okay, like, we feel good about winning this game without Cade. No way we can win this game without Cade. You can start to paint a more accurate picture for what the future may or may not hold. You can start to prepare yourself and brace yourself, if you're a Pistons fan, for what life might look like without Cade Cunningham. But when the picture is so blurry, when we have so little information, here's what the injury is, and we have no idea when he'll be back, well, then you can start to talk yourself into doomsday scenarios. You can start to talk yourself into, will Cade Cunningham even be available for the postseason? Maybe he will be. And for the Pistons organization, for Pistons fans, I hope that he is. Because again, I don't think that the Pistons can or will win anything of substance without Cade Cunningham. But I think it's fair to kind of feel the sense of anxiety whenever the recovery timeline is so up in the air because, no disrespect to Jalen Duren or Tobias Harris or Duncan Robinson, but those guys aren't getting it done without their Superman, without Cade Cunningham. I wish for the best, but, in this instances, you have to prepare for the worst.
I can assure you that Yahoo Sports will keep you updated all day. As we get any breaking information on Cade, you'll be the first to know, and stick with Yahoo Sports as we get you caught up with whatever the latest information is on his collapsed lung. In the meantime, we will get back to the NCAA tournament. Coming up, our buddy Jake Marsh going to join us. We'll figure out what Jake sees that maybe the rest of us don't out of this tournament.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans in all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in his rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
Miami of Ohio's Cinderella season stays alive. The 11-seed Redhawks will face the 6-seeded Tennessee Volunteers in the first round. That's right, play-in action has already started, and today is one of the greatest days on the sports calendar for all things March Madness. We bring on college basketball play-by-play broadcaster Jake Marsh. I've got for some, ready for this? Marsh Madness. All right, come on, let me go. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm on a roll early in the morning. All right, after what you saw from Miami of Ohio, are we saying there's a chance? Could Miami of Ohio keep this thing rolling?
There's most certainly a chance, but I think first of all, thank you guys for having me before I get into my rant. We have to put to rest the narrative that they didn't belong, right? There was the debate that either Auburn, Oklahoma, or some of the other bubble teams deserve to be in over them because they're in the MAC versus the SEC, but they had one loss. Sure, they didn't have a strong schedule. They shut all the haters up yesterday and then some. It was a dominant performance from Miami of Ohio. They belong in the tournament. They can certainly make a run. And it is just great to see that the Mid-American Conference, MACtion, provided us with 2 bids in the NCAA tournament and already with 1 win. So it's awesome also for the future of the mid-major. I know last year there was all chalk and people were worried about Cinderella, but this is an at-large MAC team that's already got themselves a win in the tournament. So I could certainly see them beating Tennessee and then some. I picked Tennessee, so I'm kind of being a hypocrite here, but I would not be shocked to see the Redhawks advance again.
Great performance for the basketball team. Great performance from the swim team. Just great job all the way around from Miami of Ohio. As you mentioned, they advance to play Tennessee in the round of 64. Miami is in the Midwestern region, so I do want to stick there. That is headlined by the number 1 seed, Michigan. The biggest storyline that you see coming out of the Midwest?
Yeah, the Midwest is obviously top heavy with Michigan and Iowa State, but I'm looking at that Tampa pod. Tomorrow afternoon, you've got Texas Tech, Akron, Alabama, and Hofstra. This is where I went bold and took my double upset back to back. I think Akron can beat Texas Tech, and I think Hofstra can beat Alabama. A little backstory. Akron was actually favored to win the MAC championship over then undefeated Miami of Ohio. So the Sharps thought, okay, this team isn't undefeated, but we think they're going to beat the undefeated team. They obviously didn't end up playing them, but Akron still got the automatic bid. Texas Tech is without Toppin, their best player. And then Alabama also dealing with some off-the-court issues earlier this week. Hofstra, I called a handful of games at the CAA conference, one of the best one-bid leagues in the country, I think. Speedy Claxton, that team can run and stay up to the quick pace with Alabama. So if I'm going bold, that's where I'm going immediately. But Michigan, Iowa State, Virginia, any of those teams could end up in Indy as well.
All right, well, let's all pile into a clown car, turn on some country music, and head south. All right, we're going to go down south. Florida right now is obviously the top seed there, but give me a big storyline from the south that you like in that region.
Yeah, I think it's the potential collision course with Houston and Florida, right? If Houston can get through the first weekend, take care of business against Idaho or either St. Mary's or Texas A&M, the South Regional is in Houston. So despite being the 2 seed, they kind of lucked out geographically for a chance to get to the Final Four. And Kelvin Sampson's been knocking on the door for a long time. He's been to Final Fours before. Obviously went to the national championship last year. But if Houston can stay the course and the Gators, the number 1 seed defending champions, also win a handful of games, we might see a national championship rematch, Florida versus Houston. The Gators a chance to go back to the Final Four and set themselves up for a chance to go back to back, just as they did in 06-07 and UConn did 3 and 4 years ago. We might get a revenge game for Houston, and they will have the majority of the crowd on their side with a chance to cut down the nets and head to Indy. So I'm really hoping, obviously I love the chaos, but I'd love to see chalk hold towards the end of that region and get a national championship rematch for the chance to go to the Final Four this year.
Since I picked Florida to win it all in my bracket, I agree with you. But I do want to go east. I think that's the most fascinating side of this bracket. Not only do you have big time brands, but you have future Hall of Famer after future Hall of Famer. Danny Hurley, Bill Self, Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino in the East. So what stands out to you about that side of the bracket outside of maybe the big time names and the big time brands?
Yeah, like you said, that you can't look past the aura. I think I saw a stat where there's 31 or 32 combined national championships in that region. So whoever's going to secure a ticket in DC next weekend with those 4 teams, you better have a fat wallet because it's not going to be cheap, no matter what combination of teams we get. Like you mentioned, Duke, UConn, Michigan State, Kansas, St. John's. One of those teams isn't going to survive this first weekend. And then here, I could see some upset potential as well. USF is one of the first games of the tournament. Coach Brian Hodgson just turned down Syracuse, and I think USF takes down Louisville, who also is dealing with some injury concerns. Northern Iowa is a past Cinderella, which we all know from Ali Farouk-Manesh in 2010 and Paul Jesperson in 2016 hit a half-court buzzer beater. So UCLA, too, I'm forgetting them. But there are so many hot names and big brands in the East, and no matter which way it unfolds, it's going to be absolute cinema as we march towards Indianapolis.
All right, then, Jake. I'll let you settle an argument here. All right, because Caroline has Michigan State going to her Final Four. I have UConn going to my Final Four. But we'll give you Caroline, me, or the field in the East. Who do you take?
Well, I took Duke, so I guess there's my answer. So you have the 2 seed, you have the 3 seed, and I took number 1. So I went a little chalky here, but the ACC is already 0-2 in this tournament. They lost 2 first 4 games, but I think Duke's in their own category. They're dealing with a couple of injuries as well with Caleb Foster and Patrick Gungba. Foster wouldn't be back until a potential Final Four appearance. Gungba could appear this weekend. But I mean, we all could be wrong. That's the beauty of March Madness, right? If Kansas or St. John's ended up in the Final Four, we would be wrong, but will we look like fools? I don't think so, because the East region is so hard to predict.
I love that region because it really is. It's just Steelers' choice. Like, go crazy with that one. Well, do you want to head out to the West Coast, Best Coast, though? I don't know if this one has nearly as much chaos potential as the East, but in the West, headlined by Arizona, who on that side of the bracket do you think could give Arizona its toughest out?
Yeah, it's interesting. I agree with you. I have mostly chalk here in the West, which means this is probably going to end up being the chaotic region because that's how March Madness goes most of the time. So yeah, I have Arizona advancing to the Final Four, but I think a team that could give them some fits, and they're still going to have their hands full in the first weekend, but if they make a run, I think Gonzaga can do something. If we get the Arizona-Gonzaga Elite Eight matchup, again, they'd have to beat Kennesaw, BYU, potentially in Purdue to get this matchup. But it would be a teacher versus student storyline in the Elite Eight because Tommy Lloyd was one of the assistants for Mark Few at Gonzaga for a couple of decades. So Mark Few would know the ins and outs of how Tommy Lloyd's preparing his team. So that's a team that I think can make a deep run. And Gonzaga, we're used to seeing, last year I think they were a 5, but the last handful of years they've been in that one spot with all the spotlight and they haven't been able to cut down the nets. But maybe right now, with the spotlight on other teams, is when Gonzaga can strike and get back to Indy.
All of this chalk talk is it's boring, everybody. Let's go Cinderellas. Let's start putting glass slippers on. So give me somebody on Thursday and Friday that you think could shock the world.
Totally. Starting off with Thursday, I think we're very fortunate to have the early slate that we do. And again, I picked chalk. I'm not bold enough to pick these upsets, but Wisconsin High Point and Arkansas Hawaii, those two games are very fun to me because Arkansas and Wisconsin both had really good championship weeks. And obviously with recency bias, people are going to be more likely to take the hot team heading into the tournament. I've been guilty of that the last few years, and it hasn't worked out. But Arkansas just won the SEC, so people are going really high on them. I've seen some people even take them beating Arizona in the Sweet 16. But Hawaii and High Point are really good mid-major teams. High Point is back in the NCAA tournament for the second straight year, and they're a 30-win team. Again, I've been wrong about Wisconsin before, and it's been well documented on the internet, so I won't fully pull the trigger, but would not be shocked to see High Point or Hawaii make it a game this afternoon. And then, for Friday, I mentioned the Akron-Hofstra double upset. So if we get that, one of them's guaranteed to go to the Sweet 16, and I have Akron.
Can we just acknowledge, too, Jake, like you mentioned, you get destroyed every time, or like we all get destroyed every time. It's literally called March Madness because it's unpredictable, but then everybody just comes out like, hey, did you not see? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Caroline. I just had to get on myself.
Yeah, like we don't have crystal balls, people. All we can do is, give our takes and hope for the best. And look, we can talk all day long about the matchups that we're going to get today and tomorrow, but part of the madness is looking ahead. So what's one potential matchup that we could get that you're really crossing your fingers that we end up getting?
Yeah, I mentioned the two potential Elite Eight matchups with the Arizona-Gonzaga storyline in Florida-Houston. But again, I'd love to see Duke and UConn in the Elite Eight. John Shire and Duke, the biggest brand in college basketball, against a fired up Dan Hurley in our nation's capital with a chance to go to the Final Four. Any combination in that East region, whether it's Izzo, Pitino, Bill Self, or Duke or UConn, again, whatever the Elite Eight final is, East Regional final is going to be, it is going to be a hot ticket, and it's going to be absolutely electric. I think the East region in 2026 is the most beautifully well-put region in March Madness history. I'm ready to say it. Those teams, it's going to be hard to argue, I think.
Yeah, I'm flat out rooting for Izzo. I want Izzo to win a national championship. I'm just going to say that over and over and over again. Look, you're joining us today, but that's significant because this is sort of the equivalent of a parent deciding to do an interview on Christmas Day because you have tweeted out your ranking of the top 10 sports days of the year. I don't see the NFL draft on that. We'll argue about that offline. But you have March Madness as day one of this whole thing. Why? What makes this day, like the March Madness round of 64, what makes it perfect for you?
I think it's the anticipation. The longest wait in sports is Sunday night after the bracket comes out and you're filling it out and you're like, okay, now what? I have to wait 72 hours to watch this thing unfold. I think March Madness provides storylines that other sports, specifically professional sports, don't provide, right? Because you have 99% of the guys that we're going to watch today, a few years from now, they're going to be accountants, they're going to be doctors, they're going to be teachers, and this is it for them. That's why it's called one shining moment, because most of these guys, yes, some of them will go to the NBA, some will go play internationally, but that's what makes this event unlike anything else. Obviously, they're incredibly talented athletes, student athletes, but for the most of them, they're going all in and they put it all out there emotionally and athletically, because after this, they're moving on to the real world. And the fact that we get it on a national spotlight and potential Cinderellas where you're on the same court as future multimillionaires and first round picks, that's why everybody roots for the underdog, because they know how important these types of moments are to these smaller schools, and everyone's rooting for that.
Well, it's always amazing when you hang out with us. We love your expertise and your insight and your passion, especially on a day like today. Follow him on Twitter, X, at Jake Marsh 18. Jake, appreciate your time, man. Thanks for all the expertise. You just made our bracket smarter. So if we win, it's because of you. If we lose, it's because of you. Sorry, buddy. We appreciate you.
That's fair. I've had it worse. I've had terrible brackets the last few years. I'm hoping to put up at least a respectable showing this year. We'll find out.
There's never a doubt. Yahoo Sports Dailies, thank you. I'm thankful for you. Thank you, my friend. Enjoy the day
guys.
of chaos.
Yeah, enjoy the tournament.
All right.
Thanks,
Coming
Jake.
up next year, the sports crossovers you didn't know you needed. Oh, Curt Cignetti yet again inspiring us all. We'll tell you about it next.
It's time for the NBA to demote the old guard and promote the new guard. The NBA, they love scheduling Warriors and Lakers and LeBron and Steph and all these stars that we've had in our life for over a decade, since many of us were kids. And it's great that we have this generation still in the NBA, but Anthony Edwards is box office, and maybe make a little space for this new generation.
One that I've been having a lot of fun with recently is Gronk. So I'm here on Yahoo Sports Daily, and if it wasn't every day, then it'd be called Yahoo Sports Weekly. You know, like if it wasn't live, it would be Yahoo Sports Taped, like that kind of stuff. So that's the thing about Seattle, is they call themselves the 12th man, and that's one more player than you're allowed to have on the field. So LA's going to have to account for another player that they're not used to.
Who are some of the other like UFC combat sports golfers that we might not know about? Like who's sneaky good?
You know what, man? I don't think there really is anybody else. Daniel Cormier is starting to play. He's absolutely
How's his game?
Awful.
Oh,
he's
no.
awful. He talks so much trash. He is so bad. But I tell you what, though, he is an athlete, and he's just like golf's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get.
Curt Cignetti is going to be the honorary pace car driver at the Indy 500. The crossover we didn't know we needed. Curt Cignetti in a race car on the Indy 500. I'm in for all of this. Just look at that Cignetti energy, feeling it on the track. I'm all day, every day. I need more of this. But it had us thinking, Caroline, of other sports crossovers. Great coaches, great players, great anybody around sports doing things that we don't usually see them doing. So we figured we'd give America some of the crossovers they didn't know they needed in honor of Cignetti. What do you got for me? Give me the first one on your mind.
All right, I need it like a fish needs water. I need to see Nick Saban, not just bowling, but competitive bowling. Doesn't that look right? Doesn't that just look like that belongs? Doesn't he look like he should be in a professional bowling league? Can't you just hear Nick Saban doing the old Pete Weber? Who do you think you are? I am. Like, Nick Saban was made for bowling trash talk. And also, Nick Saban's retired. We also have the video of him laying in his recliner with a blanket as Miss Terry says, sit up, as he's getting his birthday cake. Like, Nick Saban is ready for something that's a little bit easier on the joints, a little bit lower key, a little bit less involved than college football. That's what bowling can do.
He's also got the perfect like poof, like it's just perfectly coiffed with the sunglasses. I mean, you're right. Like there's no change here. There's no training necessary. It just looks like he steps out. And in my mind, when Saban steps onto the bowling lane, not only is he amazing at it, but also he's immediately an expert. Like even if he's never bowled before in his life, he's looking at it and he's critiquing the waxing of the lanes, like before he's even thrown the first ball. Like I feel like and by the way, Nick Saban definitely uses a heavy bowling ball, right? Like he's using like whatever the biggest one is, he flippantly just glides it down. Like whereas I need an 8-pound ball and my arm gets tired after 20 minutes, there's no doubt Saban's out here with the heaviest bowling ball possible. All right, I'll give you my first crossover. How about this one?
Love to see it.
I decided I would go with, I want to see a physical freak of nature, somebody that can do anything, do it in a different format. So I have put Victor Wembanyama in water polo. Think about it, just the sheer size and like just the arms, just the wingspan. I don't know how Wemby feels about this picture in general. This is great work by Doug, but like I don't know how you get it around him. I don't know how you manage to like he's not even touching the bottom of the pool at that point, and he's still that tall, right? Like just the absolute size of Wemby in the water. Everybody tries to shoot it, and he just kindly takes the ball out of their hands over and over and over. Nobody can even get around him. He's the greatest offensive and defensive water polo player in history. Boom! I get him an Olympic gold day one.
He would be absolutely terrifying. And like the thing about water polo, when everyone else is doing this under the water, Wemby's just standing up. Like Wemby's just totally comfortable. And our producer, Doug Branson, always crushes these photoshops. But I do have one question for him. And that is, why is Victor Wembanyama wearing a women's swimsuit?
Well, I mean, because he can. I think the real answer to
fair.
that is
Touche.
because he can. You know? I mean,
Totally
that's
touche.
the
And
real-
look at everyone else around him. They're like, what are we supposed to do about this? How are you supposed to guard this thing?
Those are all athletes around him as opposed to people my size around him, and they all look like they're my size. All right, give me your next. What do you got for me? It's a good crossover.
Okay, so I always love to see people that look like they do not belong in a certain place in that place. So I would love to see Max Crosby doing ballet. I always love to see a big man, especially a man that is covered up with tattoos, who looks like he's probably never even approached a tutu in his life. Like, look at that. Doesn't that look right? Like, doesn't Max Crosby just look like he belongs with the Little Raiders logo on his ballerina getup? Apologies for not using the correct word there. But doesn't that just look like it's meant to be?
That is delightful. That is beautiful. That is Max, the girl dad out there, just practicing for future in ballet. This is everything I didn't know that Max needed. I don't know that Max knew he needed this. I don't know that the world knew he needed this, but I love this. And by the way, many football players for generations have actually taken some ballet. It's good for balance on the field. So, maybe out here, like these are secret ballet moments that are already happening. All right, I'll give you my next one. My next one.
Wait, who is that ballerina?
Like,
is that Tom Brady?
Is that
Tom
Brady?
Brady?
In the ballerina? Oh my God, that is Tom Brady. That is Tom Brady as a ballerina. I didn't see it at first.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible! Bravo, Doug.
Doug continues to absolutely kill it. That is amazing work. All right, I'll get you my next. I also had
The
a football
jawline.
crossover. I had a football crossover for you for my next one. I went with Trent Williams, the offensive lineman, playing hockey. Mostly what I did is I tried to think of who's just the fattest guy I can think of, like the biggest monster of a man in history, and how can I put him on wee little skates? That's what I really wanted to see, was huge man, wee little skates. And by the way, it's even scarier than I thought it would be. And they put it, when you actually put him on there, like nobody's going up against him. Nobody's going. I guess I could have put him in goal, but I like him being on skates. But I'm thick on the skates. What do you think, Caroline?
Let me just acknowledge the continuity here that Trent Williams, San Francisco 49er, is playing for the San Jose Sharks. We're sticking in the Bay Area. I appreciate and tip my cap to you, Doug Branson, for that little detail. The angle of this photo is absolutely terrifying because not only is this a very large man, this is a large man that got even larger on skates and in pads, but we are standing right there. The puck is coming right at us. And I don't know how fast pucks usually go, but it looks like that puck is going about 250 miles an hour right to the dome. So that is absolutely, utterly terrifying. And there's just something kind of funny about the big men doing things that we don't really see big men do, like on skates in a little tutu. I love it.
I mean, to your point, Trent Williams is 6'5". Being on skates in the NHL makes you about 4 inches taller. So now we're talking about 6'10", right? So you're talking about 6'10" on that thing. It is absolutely like you're talking about behemoth, absolutely like 6'9", 6'10", and then what? Like at the 320 pounds, all coming at you on skates. I want every single piece of this in my life. Our producers have chimed in. They've given us a couple options as well. Let's take a look at some of what they came up with for great sports crossovers we didn't know we needed. First up, I believe we have Jerry Jones coming in. Jerry Jones in the sports crossover. Oh, no, we have Dan Hurley. It says here, Dan Hurley. We'll see. Oh, no, Jerry Jones. We're going to get there. Jerry Jones, the pickleball owner. Jerry Jones, the pickleball owner. I actually I love every ounce of this. I love the fact that he's still got a whole group of people around him. I love the fact that there are multiple ESPN mics in front of him because even if it's pickleball, they're still going to talk about it if it's Jerry Jones. I kind of love this. Jerry Jones pickleball.
I don't need to see Jerry Jones in shorts. Like there are just some knees and some ankles. I don't need to see. I'm good. I'm sure they're lovely. I'm sure they're toned. I'm sure he's done his exfoliating and his moisturizing. I'm good on seeing Jerry Jones in a pair of shorts. But let me just say, if Jerry Jones did own a pickleball team, that would be the flashiest pickleball team of all time. And it would have a Netflix documentary, like a Hard Knocks-esque Netflix documentary by next season. I think he'd be great at it.
Yeah, 100%. He would get a bunch of non-pickleball players, but they'd be superstars. He'd pay them all to come in. They'd do a documentary on it. They'd make sure they follow it. He wouldn't win a lot of pickleball games because he just got stars and didn't actually get pickleball players, and he'd be frustrated that his pickleball team didn't win. We got one more from the production staff coming in at us. Dan Hurley getting in on the fun. Got to have Coach Hurley involved in this for these sports crossovers we didn't know we needed. Dan Hurley, the slap fighter. I mean, Hurley yoked. Like you.
I was not expecting those pythons.
I mean,
I think we're doing we're doing Dan Hurley a favor here. I don't think Dan Hurley's like working with that underneath his jacket. Like, no, sorry, Dan, but like we're definitely doing you some service here.
Yeah, there is no doubt, but that's also a version of Dan Hurley that pulls up to slap fight and nobody's taking him on. Nobody's slap fighting Dan Hurley back. That is 100%. Like, just the look in his eye says, no, man, I'm like, you win. You walk up, you see that look in a man's eyes, and you say, you know what? You don't need to slap me. You win. And that's basically what Dan Hurley looks like to every single official in every single game he's ever coached, because it takes about 30 seconds before he is all out on every official ever. Those are the sports crossovers we didn't know we needed. Absolutely electric job by Doug Branson, by the way, doing a great job of getting us those Photoshops. And now all I'm ever going to see this entire tournament when I see Hurley is those just veiny biceps and just think, my God, what a yoked coach that is. All right. From Hurley back to the NBA, from the team that Hurley coaches to the team that Hurley decided not to coach, the Lakers are suddenly dominant, LeBron dominant. What does it mean for this year?
You had 27 points in your third game. What do you remember from that night?
Oh man, it was great. Once the first one drops, like I was like, okay, we're good to go. Then the second one, then the third one, and then you get to like this mode where it's kind of like unconscious. It feels like practice in a way. It was just like every time I shot it, it was like I was outside playing on just like my mini hoop. You know what I mean? Outside in the front yard. It also I think gave my teammates confidence too. Like, damn, he probably can shoot. You know what I mean? So, we should get him the ball.
What do you think is your best route, and what is your favorite route to run?
I would feel like it's probably like a stop route or something.
That's a good answer.
Like a stop route. My favorite route to run, I like to run digs.
This is from early in your rookie season. That was the best one there, was the dig route. So I think you're doing pretty well there. I like that. Okay, good answer. That was very validating for me personally, and I'm glad that you feel that way. So, okay, you mentioned...
I gave you validation.
You gave me validation, bro.
Like that.
Bro, that's what this is all about.
I like that.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first he did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around.
So
and I think
cool.
we still check up on each other.
Very
I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
What's up, Jason and Caroline? Here's what happened while you were sleeping in the NBA. Wednesday night, it was about star power. Houston Rockets, Los Angeles Lakers, and let me tell you, the Los Angeles Lakers really showed out in this performance. Luka Doncic, 40 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. LeBron James had the most efficient game of his career. Shot 13 of 14 from the field, had 30 points in a 124-116 victory over the Rockets. And Jason, I heard your rant earlier about, Kevin Durant not really being a needle mover. And I have to agree, because I think the real needle mover that we need to be talking about is LeBron James. Now, JJ Redick said before the Houston Rockets game that the Lakers are at their best when LeBron has the third highest usage. And we kind of see this changing of their style and their rhythm with LeBron playing more off ball, and it seems to be having success. The Lakers have won 10 of their last 11 games. LeBron just puts together one of the best performances of his career, and this man was, catching lobs and alleys at the rim, just not looking like a 41-year-old. So it makes me wonder, I was out on this Lakers team earlier in the season, but I'm wondering now, with things kind of changing and aligning and DeAndre Ayton buying in, is this Lakers team someone that we can actually consider a threat in the Western Conference now, along the lines of competing with the Thunder, the Spurs, and the Nuggets? Back to you guys.
Titus pointing out kind of, I think, what a lot of us have been talking about, Caroline, that certainly many of us, this show included, were completely out on the Lakers at one point, and now we're all having to recalibrate that a little bit as we see Luka erupts for 40, LeBron with dunk after dunk after dunk, reminding us that even post 40 years old, he's still LeBron. Are we sort of recalibrating to the point that we put the Lakers in that category, to Titus's point with OKC and San Antonio?
No. Hell no. No. The Lakers are not in that upper echelon. I don't even think it's fair to compare San Antonio with the Thunder. I think OKC is just totally and completely in a league of their own. And then I think you have that second tier of Denver and San Antonio. And then I think you could probably put this version of the Lakers as the tertiary team in that second tier. And it's because we know how low their floor is. We've seen how low their floor is. So it's really easy to get distracted by the oohs and the ahs and the 40 points, from Luka and the insane dunk from LeBron there. That is absolute insanity. But we do know the floor of this Lakers team. We do know that this Lakers team doesn't play defense. We do know that this Lakers team's defense has to be their offense. And over the last 7 games, all 7 games that they have won, their best defense has been their offense. But all it takes is an off shooting night from any one of their big 3, and then you can poke a whole lot of arguments, or you poke a whole lot of holes in that argument that the Lakers are in the upper echelon. So no, I don't put them in that top tier of the West, but if we do see consistent play like this from the Lakers, if we do see Luka playing at his peak, Austin Reeves doing his thing, LeBron James looking like LeBron James, well then yeah, I think that the Lakers could beat anybody in the West. I just cannot take anybody in the West over OKC or even putting anyone in that same tier as OKC. But my goodness, this Lakers team, if they did what they did last night, they're terrifying.
Simply, yeah, you're 1,000% right. And I think this is one of those moments where I got to give credit where credit's due. We questioned whether JJ Redick was going to be the right coach. Things have really started to click. We questioned the roster construction. Things have started to click. But one thing I keep going back to is something that, we were told on this show when we were talking a while ago to Wendy, right? Brian Windhorst from ESPN. And we asked what was wrong with the Lakers. And he said, look, they were never constructed to play defense. They were constructed in a way where they thought their offense would be so explosive it would make up for their lack of defense. We're finally seeing that. But now think about what that construction statement means. So the question is, when you were never built to really care about defense anyway, when you weren't built, you knowingly coming into the season, you weren't built with real depth. You were built in a way where your hope is that your big three can just outscore everybody all the way along the board. Like, that's a path, but that's not a path in this version of the West. I don't think they're playing as well as they can now, considering how they're constructed. I simply don't think if we just take the blueprint, the construction plan, and we compare OKC, San Antonio, and the Lakers is constructed. The ceiling was never going to be as high as those other two teams, and the floor is much lower than those other two teams. So, yes, I think it's important to credit that the Lakers are starting to figure it out. We've spent months saying I can't understand why the big three is just not a big three for the Lakers. I can't understand why their point differential is so bad, why their plus minus stands out. I can't understand why they can't find rhythm with LeBron. I can't understand why it looks so haphazard offensively. Well, they're starting to fix a lot of that, and I want to give them credit for doing that thing that they're fixing. But again, I think when we start talking about the playoffs and we start talking about what the ceiling of a team is, and when we start talking about can they contend with the best of the best, that real conversation is, okay, my best versus your best. Like, I like to apply universal benefit of the doubt. So if I'm going to presume that the Lakers are going to get it all figured out and be the best of the Lakers, then they're going to be taking on a San Antonio team that has it all figured out and is the best of San Antonio. I don't like them then. Or the best of OKC. I don't like them at all there. So I think it's fair to say the Lakers are playing up to expectations, and they're playing far better, Caroline. I just won't put them in the same category as OKC or San Antonio because I think as constructed, those two teams are just better than LA.
And also, let's keep in mind the team that the Lakers looked insane against last night. Look at the Houston Rockets. We talked about the Rockets last week, and I'll continue to reiterate. The Rockets are a flawed team. Like, the Rockets forget that you're allowed to generate offense in the fourth quarter. Contrary to popular belief, you are allowed to. That's allowed. It's legal. And we even heard KD say it in a press conference. Like, look, maybe I should just stand in the corner. Maybe I should just, get double teamed. Like, we've heard KD publicly call out his team for not doing enough around him. So I don't want to take anything away from the Lakers because a 30-point performance from LeBron and a 40-point performance from Luka Doncic and what that big three has been doing, not just last night, but over the course of their winning streak, has been wildly impressive. But I don't think that the Lakers can do what they did last night against OKC's defense. I don't think that they're doing that against Wemby and company in San Antonio. I want to project what the Lakers can be against the class of the West. I don't think that they can do what they did last night against those teams.
So what was more impressive to you last night? Luka putting up 40 points and a box score that was just jam-packed with all sorts of good, or LeBron and the 5 wildly absurd dunks that are just all over the highlight reel absolutely everywhere?
I don't even think this is a question for me. And acknowledging that a 40-point night is crazy. LeBron's 5 dunks. Are you crazy? LeBron's 41 years old. LeBron's been dealing with injuries. He's been dealing with sciatica. LeBron's 41. But he had 5 epic dunks last night. That one, the alley-oop, where he just reached back behind the boards and slams it in. I mean, that was reminiscent of peak LeBron. Like, my gosh, that was awesome to watch. And we did say this. We've talked about this when we talk about the Lakers for a long time of, look, you're not always going to get peak LeBron every single night, but you will get glimpses of peak LeBron. And when you do, it's awesome. And truly, it is a privilege to watch. Last night was the glimpse into peak LeBron that you'll get every once in a while, and also what I think is necessary for the Lakers to make a run here in the West.
You're right, and the funny thing is, I really came into this thinking that Luka was more impressive, and I keep watching these dunk replays, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like as I watch these dunk replays, and you see just the ability to accelerate everybody. I mean, just right there, just the fact that he comes right in and says, "Whoop, mine done." That is such a level of speed, athleticism, effort. All of these things happening at once makes this, I think, more impressive. I think you're right. I think LeBron is more impressive. And I think, honestly, what the Lakers are doing right now, like this, again, I'm going to keep echoing this. Two things can be true. What the LeBron and the Lakers are doing right now is very impressive. So anyone that thinks that we're being Lakers haters, I don't think we are. It's just I don't put them in the same category with the best of the best. But that being said, when you see Luka do what he did last night and you see LeBron do what LeBron has done over and over and over again, it's absolutely impossible not to sit there and say, what if, maybe, possibly, could the Lakers, who knows? But if I'm a Lakers fan right now, I'm looking around and I'm at least saying, why not us? One team not saying why not us at all would be the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, Giannis being shut down for the rest of the season. It seems like that's the way it's good. It's created a tremendous amount of discourse on Giannis, a tremendous amount of argument. Yet again, here we are. This feels like Max Crosby and the Raiders all over again, where we're in this situation where the Bucks and Giannis are trying to figure out how to move forward, where Giannis wants to keep playing basketball, but the Bucks don't want him to keep playing basketball. So what do we make, Caroline, of this latest controversy?
I don't blame Milwaukee at all in the slightest. I am on record for a long time saying that the Bucks have gotten themselves backed into a corner by trying to make Giannis happy, by trying to make sure that they can capitalize on a championship window, by proving to Giannis that, look, we're doing everything we can to make this team a championship contender. So what do? They spend all of this money to just let Damian Lillard walk out into the streets. They spend all of this money and all of this capital to try and just tinker with the team and try and put a championship contender together with paper clips and bubble gum, and it just didn't work. And now the Bucks are stuck. And their only way out of this is by moving on from Giannis, is by trading Giannis. It's by, just cutting your losses, getting as much draft capital, as much capital you can back for Giannis to try and just pivot and find your next path to a championship contender. So Giannis is their key out. As much as Giannis was the Bucks' key in, Giannis is also their key out. So they need to protect that. They need to protect the asset that they have that's going to get themselves out of this corner. So if that's shutting Giannis down and protecting him and wrapping him in bubble wrap and making sure that that Giannis, knock on wood, doesn't get injured or doesn't, whatever it might be, like that's what the Bucks have to do. And I don't blame the Bucks. The Bucks have acknowledged that we don't have a future with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and we don't really care about what he wants at this point because we're moving on from him and we're looking ahead to the future. I don't blame the Bucks at all.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where, frankly, Milwaukee, like at this point, if you've decided that you're headed for divorce, then don't worry about his feelings anymore. Like if you've decided that this thing is done and everybody knows that this is the end of Giannis in Milwaukee, then keep moving. Just do what you need to do for your organization. And if you're not sure if it's the end for Giannis with the Bucks, then you need to sit down and have a real conversation with him to set that expectation today. But frankly, I think the Bucks have gotten themselves in trouble by asking Giannis every step of the way what Giannis wants, and now they're in a situation where we're worried about what Giannis wants when that's the last thing in the world the Bucks should be worried about. If Giannis isn't going to be a Buck past this summer, which is what most people presume, then who the hell cares if he wants to play? If I'm the Bucks, I don't really give a damn about your opinion. All I care about is can I protect myself so that I can get as much back for you as possible, and I can be as bad as possible to help myself get the best shot at the best draft picks possible. If Giannis wants to be part of whatever the Bucks are doing moving forward, then Giannis should go to the Bucks right now and say, hey, I don't want to be shut down, and I also want to be here for the rest of my career. And if they work that out and they do all of that and they figure it out in a meaningful way, then sure, maybe it's worth listening to Giannis. But there's been no indication that that's what they're going to do. There's no indication that's what they're trying to do. All indications right now seem to be that these two are going to part ways. So if you're worried about treating him the right way right now, I guess my question is, Why? At some point, as painful as a breakup can be, each side has to look after themselves. And so if Giannis is going to look after himself, which is every bit his right as a player, the Bucks need to look after themselves as an organization, which means making sure that every single thing they do from now all the way until the NBA draft is focused only on how to make the future of the Bucks better than the present. If the future doesn't include Giannis, then caving to anything that Giannis wants right now is actually bad business for what you're trying to build. The Bucks need to decide not what they're doing with Giannis Antetokounmpo, but what positions them the best to find their next Giannis Antetokounmpo. Remembering that they went a full generation where they weren't just bad, they were irrelevant in the NBA. They need to find the path to relevance, and that path to relevance doesn't come from making Giannis happy today. That comes from figuring out what their 5-year plan as an organization looks like. And if that doesn't include Giannis, then frankly, respectfully, who the hell cares whether or not he wants to play any given night or not?
And that's just the reality of the situation. And for anybody who's out there saying, look, the Bucks, they don't want to piss off their superstar. They don't want to make Giannis angry. Look, I get it. That for so long we've just grown accustomed to the Bucks saying, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Giannis. We will do whatever it takes to make you happy. We just want you to be here. Please, Giannis, please, please, please just stay. He's not calling the shots anymore. We're at a point where, hey, look, with this, let's make this breakup as amicable as possible. You don't want to be here. It's so obvious he doesn't want to be here. If you don't want to be here, then we don't want you here. We had such a lovely run together. We brought a championship to this city. We put Milwaukee basketball on the map, and we did something very, very beautiful together. But now, look, we have been bending the knee to you for far too long. We get to call the shots now. We are a money-making business, and we are in the business of winning basketball games. And if we can't do that together, then we're going to try and do that without you. And the best way for us to do that, the best way for us to set up our franchise for success is just to protect you and to make sure that you don't put yourself in harm's way. We're going to shut you down for the season. So sorry if you don't like that, but we are done taking orders from you.
If there's anything I know, there'll be more Giannis drama. And we'll make sure that you're caught up on all of it because that seems to be the one thing. The Bucks are no good at basketball, but boy, are they good at being a conversation piece. We'll keep the conversation going, but coming up next, that's 100%. Even coming up next, even though that might be the NFL offseason, we're trying to figure out what some teams are actually doing. Rank the tank coming up next.
How can I sit here in one breath and say the sport is broken when it looks like the audience is more pleased with the sport than ever?
It's not broke. It's just we've been drinking out of a fire hose for 3 years. But it can't just be pay them, kick them off the team, next guy, next team. I worry about these kids' long-term health and what they're going to do with their lives when they're 26 and 27, when they have no roots at any university.
James Rodriguez is reportedly joining Minnesota United. The main thing as a fan of the league, I would just be excited to see him play. And then Minnesota against NYCFC, get to go see James. And what if that game is at Citi Field, bro? Queens is going to lose their mind.
It's going to go nuts. Astoria and Jackson Heights will be empty. There will be 3 Uruguayans, 4 Argentinians, and 6 Mexicans in all of Jackson Heights going, what the hell's going on? Where is everybody?
Admittedly, I'm a huge fan of Travis Hunter as a prospect. Do you have any sense of what his growth is going to be like, where he might be playing more and more, what his role is going to look like, especially on the offensive side?
The way he is, his personality, I think this injury in rookie year is only going to just make him better. He was starting to really get going on offense, and we were starting to click. So who knows what the rep count looks like, but I know he's a special receiver when he gets the ball in his hands.
The The Dolphins are tanking. The Jets are tanking. The Cardinals tanking. The March for Arch is crowded. That's well done. All right, the March for Arch. Although I'm not going to be one to sit here and anoint any one particular quarterback as much as everybody wants to. Caroline Fenton, we are taking a look at some of the offseason teams that we believe are going to, let's just say this gently, suck next year and figure out how to make sense of the tank that they may or may not be a part of right now. So we've got the March for Arch, presumably. Let's take a look at some of the teams that are bad and figure out what in the hell are they doing. So let's start with the Dolphins, who we know traded Jalen Waddle to the Broncos, which has us wondering, WTF are the Dolphins actually trying to accomplish right now? Are they bad enough to tank? Are they not? Where are you? On grading their tank so far, where are the Dolphins?
Well, before we get into the Dolphins, dare I say this is Arch Madness?
Oh.
Thank you.
That's well done. That was well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am here all week and I'll be back next week. So here's the thing with the Dolphins. I'm so confused about what they want to do. Because if I looked independently of Malik Willis, I would say that they sold at the trade deadline last year. They fired their general manager and they fired their head coach and they let all of their free agent players hit free agency and they traded Jalen Waddle. I would say, yeah, they're trying to suck. They're trying to stink because they just paid $100 million for Tua to just walk away. So they're trying to stink. They're offloading their books and they're looking for their quarterback of the future. Got it. Understood. And then you pay Malik Willis $30 million a year to come in, and he was the most highly coveted free agent quarterback on the market? What? I'm confused. Like, signing Malik Willis feels so independent of everything else that they have shown that they want to do or be. So my thing with the Dolphins is they're trying to be bad, but not too bad, but also not bad enough to be bad, but also not good enough to be good. So the Dolphins are setting themselves up to be in a position that I think is the worst position to be in sports, which is 8-9 and 9-8. You're not bad enough to take a swing for a quarterback, yet you're not good enough to do anything of substance. I'm very confused about what the direction of the Miami Dolphins is and who they want to be. If you want to stink, just run it back with Quinn Ewers. If you want to stink, just sign one of these not very good quarterbacks off the street on the cheap. But no, you're investing in the quarterback position and nowhere else.
On top of that, Caroline, they have they've told everybody, according to reports, that Devon Achane is not touchable right now in a trade. And Devon Achane obviously has been a very good player for them. But also of note, Devon Achane is 25 years old and is in the last year of his rookie contract. So, okay, you don't trade him right now. That's fine. You want to keep Devon Achane. For what? Like, aren't you trying to suck? And if you're not trying to suck, why did you get rid of the other pieces? And if you're keeping Achane, what is your hope? I mean, right now, next year, you're either going to have to franchise him or you're going to have to put epic money behind him. And this is where we start to question, why would you put epic money into a running back on a team that is in the beginning of a rebuild? I don't know. So, like, if they had told me that they were trading Devon Achane, I'd at least turn around and say, okay, then what they really told us is they don't truly believe in Malik Willis. They just needed a quarterback of some sort that they're bringing in. But I remind people all the time, there were 4 teams this year that finished with 3 wins. 3 wins, right? So if you really want to have the March for Arch or Arch Madness, as you mentioned, or get to the top, no matter what, if you really want to get there, you can't win more than 1 or 2 games and even be sure that you're going to have a shot at that. So to me, none of this makes sense, especially keeping Achane with Malik Willis. If this is an attempt at a tank, it's an F. If it's an attempt at being a competitive football team, it's a F. Either way, I can't figure out what the Dolphins are trying to accomplish. How about we'll stick with the concept and go to another team within their division. How about the Jets? The Jets trade for Geno Smith, but obviously it feels like we keep hearing everybody tell us Aaron Glenn, their head coach, is essentially dead man walking after a terrible year for the Jets. How do we feel about the Jets tanking right now for next year?
Are the Jets doing something new? Because this just seems like same stuff, different day with the New York Jets, in my opinion. No, I think what the Jets are doing, even though I think the Jets are a truly dreadful organization, it makes sense what they're doing, and they're trying to be bad, and that's why you signed Geno Smith. So take notes, you Dolphins. That's how you tank. Sorry, Gino, but I think that his best football is likely behind him. And we saw that from his year with the Raiders this past year. What they're doing, they re-signed Breece Hall in free agency, and they're holding on to Garrett Wilson. And I think that's because their intention is to be bad enough to take a quarterback at the top of the draft next year. And then that young quarterback comes in with a veteran running back and I'm not going to say elite receiver, but a receiver that I think has the makings of being elite if he just has a competent quarterback. So it makes sense to me to hold on to those pieces, prepare your young quarterback for the future. And it does kind of feel like right now Aaron Glenn is probably, the sacrificial lamb for next year. That what's the point of firing Aaron Glenn if your intention is just to be bad in 2026? The idea, I think, for the Jets would be you move on from Aaron Glenn after this year, if the Jets are as bad as I expect them to be, and then you have your coach and your quarterback on the same timeline for the foreseeable future. So I think the Jets are going to be bad. Don't get that twisted, but I at least see the vision there. What about you? What do you think the Jets are doing here?
Let me start for everybody that's, again, the March for Arch, right? Let me just start by asking this one philosophical question. How much different would we feel about the Jets today if they were about to draft Fernando Mendoza? Because it's alarming to me that they finished with the second pick in this year's draft. That is the second worst, tied for the worst record, second pick in this year's draft, and they have no path to a quarterback. Like that's so staggeringly Jets to finish. Most years, if you finish second, you've got the second pick in the draft. All right, you know what? We'll get one of these two quarterbacks, one of these three quarterbacks. This year, there was one quarterback people want to bank on. Now, maybe later in the draft, they take Ty Simpson. Maybe they find a way to get themselves to a quarterback. But part of the reason we feel the way we feel about the Jets is, having Geno got the Raiders the first pick in the draft last year. Well, having Geno get the Jets the first pick in the draft this year, maybe it's a team that has just not got a lot of talent. They do have a couple of guys, though. They do have a couple of guys that we all look at and say, like, Garrett Wilson didn't forget how to play football, right? Like, so there are guys on this roster that are good, but the overall roster is just terrible. And we all agreed that the coach feels like he's sort of dead man walking. I struggle to find the vision. And I think the vision to me really does feel right now like, hey, let's just rip this thing down. Let's just survive this year and we'll get it figured out next year. And that always makes me nervous. That makes me nervous because I think a rebuild, and look, if you're a Raiders fan right now, like I am, I think anytime you pick first in the draft, you have to understand that your rebuild is a multi-year rebuild. I think it's the beginning of a 2, 3, 4-year rebuild. Doesn't matter how many times you've done it. You got to restart it. Got to go through it. If you're the Jets right now, I think you're probably looking at, hey, this is a 2, 3, 4-year rebuild, but year one isn't even this year because there wasn't much available to help you the way that you wanted to be helped. So now you're starting your 2, 3, 4-year rebuild next year. Like, that's just a tough sell to everybody. So I feel like the Jets are sort of stuck. It's not that they've done a bad job. It's that they were put in a position where they couldn't really address anything they needed to address. So they have no choice but to kick the can down the road and see what they can get, what they can do next year. What about the Cardinals? The Arizona Cardinals have been very, very quiet. Where are you on the Cardinals and their version of tanking so far?
They are looking at Arch Manning is salivating. Like, they've got drool coming out of their mouth looking at Arch Manning, hoping that that's their next quarterback. Because, Fitz, in our post-show meeting yesterday, I was talking to the guys, and I'm thinking, like, wait, who? Am I having an epic brain fart? Or why can I not remember who in the world is the Cardinals quarterback this upcoming season? I'm like, I know I lived 37 lives in the last week, but why is this not coming to me? And I'm like, wait, it's because the Cardinals didn't do anything at the quarterback position. It's because they're running it back with Jacoby Brissett and signing Gardner Minshew, which, by the way, will be the best cheddar in the valley. I mean, just look at that man's hair. It's incredible. But it's because the Cardinals didn't do anything this year. It's because I think the Cardinals are kind of following the same path that the Jets are following, which normally is a very scary path to be following. But it's let's not invest a whole lot of money into the quarterback position, and let's hope that we are bad enough to find our quarterback of the future in next year's draft. And we're also going to hold on to Marvin Harrison Jr. so our young quarterback has a go-to certified number one receiver. The dangerous thing with that is we just talked about 3 teams who are on the march for Arch. Arch Manning can only go to one team. Let's not forget that. I think that the difference between next year's draft and this year's draft, which I think is a very dangerous game to play whenever you're projecting for a year out, because everything can change within the course of a college football season. But next year's quarterback draft feels much deeper than this past year's. It's really just Fernando Mendoza and everybody else this year. But remember, Dante Moore did not declare for this year's draft. Dante Moore will be in next year's draft. So you already have another option that feels much better than the Drew Allers, Cade Klubniks, and the Garrett Nussmeyers of this year's draft. So there is at least a deeper quarterback draft right now as of March 19th for next year. But everybody's trying to get Arch Manning, a little piece of Arch Manning for next year. And not every team can get him. It's just which team can outsuck the other ones. And if the question is who's going to outsuck the other ones, right now, I think it's the Cardinals. It's really easy to say that the Jets are going to be the worst team in the NFL next year because the Jets are almost always the worst team in the NFL. But I look at the Cardinals division and I look at 6 automatic losses right there and a very uninspiring roster. So if anybody is out tanking the others, I think Arizona's in the lead.
Yeah, I agree with you because of that division. It makes so much sense. And to your point with Arch, what gets really dangerous is a year ago, right now, we were preparing even before Cam Ward was drafted. Remember, there were people that were sitting there saying, well, should you take Cam Ward or should you wait until next year's draft? Because next year's draft looks like it's stacked at the quarterback position. That was a real conversation a year ago.
Yeah.
And I give Nate Tice, our Yahoo teammate, a lot of credit. He was the first person I saw say the name Fernando Mendoza, and he said it right after last year's draft. Nobody even saw Fernando coming. So that's the point to the positive, but also just like nobody saw Joe Burrow coming before his big season. And to a certain degree, people didn't see Cam Ward coming. But what is funny is that, people did think that coming into this year's draft that there would be huge names. It was expected that Garrett Nussmeier was going to be a top prospect that would turn into a great quarterback. And instead, he's available in this year's draft. He just doesn't look like a franchise savior. It was expected that Arch would be in this year's draft, and he's not because, frankly, he's not good enough to be in this year's draft. He needs more time. So, it gets dangerous when you say look at next year's quarterback class because for all we know, what do we know? Like Dante Moore could come back and have a bad year next year. Dante Moore could turn around and not play particularly well, and all of a sudden we see him differently. Like we're seeing that live time. That's what's happening with some of these quarterbacks. So it's dangerous to say today, Arch for the March for Arch, whatever, Arch Madness. It's dangerous to say that because Arch still has to put enough on film that he actually lives up to the hype, which has not happened in the eyes of everybody so far. So it gets dangerous. But I am with you. The Cardinals probably because of the division they play, and I still believe that the Rams are going to be great. I believe the Seahawks are going to be great. I believe the 49ers are going to be better and healthier than they were last year. Either way, they're always very good. You're right. That's 6 losses right out of the gate. You've got 2 teams in the AFC East trying to suck, so that makes that more difficult. I think the Cardinals are probably in the best situation of all the teams that we've mentioned. Now, from the news of the offseason to the news of the right now, speaking of bad teams, the Browns already ruining football on the field. They're now trying to ruin football off the field. They formally proposed a rule that would allow teams to trade draft picks 5 years out instead of 3. Currently, the most you can do is 3 years worth of draft picks. They want to expand it to 5. What say you?
Why? Like, what's the point? The NBA does this. It's like, oh, well, the Oklahoma City Thunder have traded their 2042 second-round pick. And it's like, okay, who cares? That's so far down the line. I've seen some arguments being made that, hey, like, if you extend out the trade window, then that means more trades, and trades are exciting. That creates more interest. And I'm with you on that. That anytime we see a trade on the first night of draft night, we're all like, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, what does this mean? We're all excited about trades. But what does trading your 2020 or your 2031 6th-round pick do for drumming up interest? That's such a big fat nothing burger to me. Like, I can't even think about tomorrow, much less 2 years down the line, much less 5 years down the line. I also think that roster construction happens much more on a phone booth than I think people realize, because so many teams that are in a win now mode are thinking about right now. They're not worried about 2031, 2032. They're not worried about 5 years down the line. They're not even worried about 2 years down the line. So I think extending out the years in which you can trade draft picks just kind of makes trades, just kind of dilutes trades. Because nobody's worried about 5 years down the line, at least in my opinion. I don't think this really does anything. I don't see the point.
Yeah, we see coaches change so fast in the NFL too. How less appealing does the Browns' job become if they've leveraged future first-round picks that are 5 years from now, and all of a sudden they're trying to hire a new coach that realizes, oh, wait, I don't have a first-round pick for the next 3 or 4 years. And the example that everybody will go to here is the Rams. Like the Rams say F them picks, and it works perfectly for them. Great. Your favorite team sucks because they don't have Les Snead. Your favorite team sucks because they don't have Howie Roseman. So the draft is still such a huge part of how successful NFL teams are built. Also, I'll say this loud and proud. A year ago when we were looking at the lottery and all of a sudden the Mavs were winning the lottery and Cooper Flagg was headed to Dallas, I saw many people, including guys like Greeny, come out and tell you, oh, my God, the NFL needs to incorporate the NBA's draft lottery. This is such a better system. Look at the ratings for the lottery. And then look at the ratings for the draft overall. Just look at the ratings for the NFL draft. The NFL draft is untouchable. It's perfect. It doesn't need anything. It doesn't need a change. It doesn't need a lottery. It doesn't need future picks turned around. It doesn't need any of that because it is working exactly the way it is supposed to work. The ratings are through the roof for it because the NFL draft represents hope. It represents hope for 31 fan bases that think they're going to catch the Super Bowl champion, and the Super Bowl champion sits there and waits all the way to the very end and says, ha-ha, we still got the best player. You guys are all stupid. We're brilliant. This is the way the draft works. The more trading we see of future draft picks, the more unengaged fan bases there are in future drafts. The more confusing you make the draft, the worse you make the product. This just feels to me like change for the sake of change. And suddenly you've got a bunch of people sitting around and saying, well, if we could do that, it would make it more exciting. It doesn't need to be more exciting. As it stands right now, there is no draft in all of sports that even touches the interest, the conversation, the ratings, the numbers, all of that on the NFL draft. Why would they tweak something that doesn't need to be tweaked to allow opportunities for teams in the future to be less part of something that is already such a huge part of the offseason? This is just, to me, an asinine proposal that doesn't fix anything, and it actually creates more problems. I don't know. Maybe the Browns should spend more time trying to figure out what their quarterback situation is and not what they're doing with draft picks 5 years from now that they're trying to trade away, because the Browns, I think their suggestion would actively make the draft worse. So congratulations. You already make Sunday football worse for me. Now you want to make the NFL draft worse for me. Cleveland, I say no, and I say no loudly.
Yeah, take that, Cleveland. You stink at everything.
Yeah.
And it's already
Rock and Roll Hall of
confusing
Fame,
enough to
delightful.
figure out. True. It is. It very much so is. We love the Cavs here on this program. But it's already confusing enough to figure out when your team is picking and how many picks you have, because it's like, oh yeah, a couple years ago we traded our 4th round. We swapped 6th round picks for this one backup linebacker, and then you get compensatory picks, and it was a 4th. But when does it turn into a 3rd? It takes a college degree to figure out what kind of picks your team has and when you're picking. And I think the other side of that too, the only trades that are really exciting as it comes to the NFL draft is when it involves a 1st round pick and maybe a 2nd round pick. Like the 4th and 5th and 6th that get thrown in to trades just to sweeten the pot a little bit. I don't care about all that. Everybody cares about the 1st and 2nds. Nobody in their right mind is trading a 1st round pick 4 or 5 years down the line. Nobody. Like you'll trade your 1st round pick this year and next year. You don't see anyone trading 1st round picks 2 years down the line. Heck no. Why would you do that? Way too much changes throughout the course of 1 year. Like it's hard enough to project just 1 year in advance, much less 3 to 4 to 5. So like extending out the window isn't gonna make trades better, because I'm not trading my 1st round pick 4 years from now. Heck no. What if I'm terrible 4 years from now? I could potentially be trading away the 1st overall pick. And we saw the Carolina Panthers get themselves in that little tizzy just a couple of years ago when they traded their 1st round pick for to draft Bryce Young, when they traded up, when they swapped with the Bears. That's how the Bears got Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. And so that kind of put the Panthers in a little bit of a pickle, right? If you had to bet your house on who's going to be a better football team this year, sorry, Doug, it's going to be the Browns, not the Carolina Panthers. So you're not going to trade your 1st round picks. You're not going to trade away any sort of picks that are actually substantial or mean something 3 years in advance, much less 5. Are you crazy?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a major sports draft that is worse than the NBA's. Whether it's from players being,
Yeah.
wearing hats, not aware they've already been traded, to the complication of protected picks versus non-protected picks, all the way across the board. Any NBA logic that falls into the NFL draft, I'm out on. I'm all in on our next guest. We'll get thoughts on March Madness, on Detroit, on everything from the great Keegan-Michael Key joining us next.
It's time for the NBA to demote the old guard and promote the new guard. The NBA, they love scheduling Warriors and Lakers and LeBron and Steph and all these stars that we've had in our life for over a decade, since many of us were kids. And it's great that we have this generation still in the NBA, but Anthony Edwards is box office, and maybe make a little space for this new generation.
One that I've been having a lot of fun with recently is Gronk. So I'm here on Yahoo Sports Daily, and if it wasn't every day, then it'd be called Yahoo Sports Weekly. You know, like if it wasn't live, it would be Yahoo Sports Taped, like that kind of stuff. So that's the thing about Seattle, is they call themselves the 12th man, and that's one more player than you're allowed to have on the field. So LA's going to have to account for another player that they're not used to.
Who are some of the other like UFC combat sports golfers that we might not know about? Like, who's sneaky good?
You know what, man? I don't think there really is anybody else. Daniel Cormier is starting to play. He's absolutely
How's his game?
awful.
Oh,
he's
no.
awful. He talks so much trash. He is so bad. But I tell you what, though, he is an athlete, and he's just like in golf's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get.
Tommy. John, what are we? John by 8? Okay. I'm not good because I'm an actor. I don't do math. Keep playing though. Look at that. 9 points for Richardson. 10 points for the rest of the team. Take it. 23 on the clock. You're fine. Get the rebound.
Oh, now add that to my list. The guys I want to watch the tournament with. Joins us now, Keegan-Michael Key. You know him from Key and Peele, obviously, a million other things. Teaming with Choice Hotels on their new Travel Values campaign. We'll talk about that in just a second. All right, Sparty, are we Sparty through and through? Like, how we feeling?
I at that point in time in the tournament, Sparty was, I'm a Michigander, so Sparty was they were the team that was at that particular point. It's funny, I get during March Madness, I get split loyalties. Like I'm a Nittany Lion, but I grew up a Wolverines fan, but I've always followed Michigan State because, I'm of that age where when I was a little kid, I watched Magic Johnson when he played at Michigan State versus, remember him and Larry Bird in the NCAA championship. So I sometimes my loyalties will change and move around during March Madness. Yeah.
I do have to point out, every single person I've ever met from Michigan doesn't say, I'm from Michigan. It's always, I'm a Michigander.
I'm a Michigander.
Then you put the hand up and you show us.
Yes, exactly. I'm a Michigander. I love that we have this kind of special. It's so much better. It's got more personality than Michiganian,
It absolutely does. Just throw
Yeah.
the rogue D in there. I don't know where the D came from, but if you want the D, take the D. It is all yours. But let's just say your beloved Michigan State makes it to the Final Four. Are we traveling to Indy to be a Michigan State superfan in person?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if I can fit that into my schedule. If any team, if Michigan makes it or Michigan State makes it, wouldn't it be great if they played each other? That'd be something. Yeah, wouldn't that be something? But March Madness is really just a great time to travel to see your favorite team for anybody. And I have friends who do this yearly, annually. And it's interesting, as the spokesperson for Choice Hotels, a fun fact that I like to share with people is that there are literally more than 4,000 choice hotels properties within a mile of an interstate exit in the United States. And that's including, by the way, many sports arenas. So I just wanted to put that out there for anybody who is traveling during March Madness. So we'll see. I will look into my schedule and see if that's something I can do.
Oh, that is absolutely perfectly pitched by you. Also, you're the first person I've ever met that
like
is
how I
okay with
segued into
Michigan
that?
and Michigan's. Like, Michiganders usually are very split on Michigan versus Michigan State. So I pray for, your Menchies when everybody,
Yes,
when
I
everybody
am.
sees that you're okay with both.
I'm a full service Michigander when it comes to March Madness. Yes.
We'll love this. Well,
Cast a
you're
wide
also, look, strong connection with Detroit sports, right? You've thrown out the first pitch to the Tigers game. You've been on the Lions sidelines. You've been on to the Tonight Show with Cade Cunningham. For all of your sports experiences that your platform allows you to be in, what's the best one? What's your favorite?
I think probably my favorite was a few years ago when I had the opportunity, the very first time I ever got to meet Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders is like my big sports hero. So that would be probably the most significant one to me, because he was always my hero. When I was a kid in Eastern, we used to go, there's a place called Eastern Market in Detroit where you go get fresh produce and stuff. And the place would be packed every weekend. And I used to pretend to be Barry Sanders, weaving in and out of the people so I could get my parsnips and my tomatoes and my celery. And so meeting him was a real thrill for me.
One of the kindest, most humble people
Yes,
that we
yes,
have
yes.
ever had the privilege to interview
Yeah.
here on the show. He's such a wonderful person.
Lovely
But on the
human.
basketball side, lovely. On the basketball side of things, we did see at the All-Star game that you were coached by Team Giannis.
Yes,
And
I
Giannis was a little into some hot water when he was booing his own fans in Milwaukee. Let's live in a fantasy world where Giannis is a Detroit Piston and he starts booing you and the Pistons fans in the stands. What's your reaction to your old coach?
Okay, I'm sorry, Caroline. I got to tell you, it's out of the question that would ever happen. We would embrace Giannis so thoroughly. He would come and have coney dogs. He would take walks on the Riverwalk. He would go to raves and listen to electric dance music, which we invented in Detroit, along with, of course, Motown. He would be so embraced by us, there would never be any booing. There would be no reason for the booing. So if Giannis, and this is just, listen, I'm giving a full pitch here. You want to come to Detroit? You want to join Jalen and Cade and Beef Stew? We welcome you with open arms. We say to you, Yasu, as they say in Greece. So I got my pitch ready for Giannis. I did not get to share with him at the game because he was too busy going, you sit down on the bench. You're not playing anymore right now. So
Yeah,
you get rebound, I let you play. You not get rebound, you sit down. So
I could feel his disrespect for your game through the videos that were coming through, but I did like that you were openly platforming to try to get more touches. Okay, speaking of games, we're going to play a little game with you. Okay, so
Let's do it.
obviously we all know and love some of your work that came from the East-West football sketch. We all know names are a big part of your life. You've done some things with us in the past, rather. So we're going to play a little game. We're going to give you a collegian or concoction, okay? So knowing that you're great with fake names, we're going to give you a name. You tell us whether it's a real college athlete or if our producers just made it up out of thin air, okay? So collegian or concoction. The first one we'll give you is Fat Brooks. Now, for clarity, fat is P-H-A-T. I don't want to be Fat Brooks. Collegian or concoction?
That is a concoction.
That's a collegian. He's a guard for Central Michigan.
That
is a real person.
Fat Brooks. Holy mackerel. You guys are great. Tell your producer he's great. I've been studying, and I don't know how I missed Fat Brooks. Good one. Okay.
A Michigander at that.
A Michigander, no less. Yes.
Fat Brooks. Yes. Let's move on to the next one. 0 for 1. Let's try to get you back to 500. Chandler Bing.
Chandler Bing. That is a concoction.
That is not a concoction. 0 for 2. That is not only a Friends character, that is also a Vanderbilt basketball player.
So wait a minute. So somebody named their kid after Chandler. I just figured it was a concoction because it was from Friends. You guys, okay.
It's a real person.
Believe I'm 0 for 2. I got to catch up. Holy mackerel.
Look, I think you. I
Put
think
you on
you
the
should.
hot
I mean, we could give you like a half a point for, because also Chandler was a concoction. I like that. All right. How about this one? Grant White Chark. It's Chark. Grant White Chark.
Oh my God. Like, what's his name? Chark. Because then I wonder if they're related and if they're real. So, okay. Now maybe you're pulling a switcheroo on me here. I'm going to go collegian.
We are kicking it. No, we're out.
Goodness.
That's a concoction.
That's a concoction.
Wow, you're skipping. I love that you guys did you're skipping all of the popular crazy football names.
Mm-hmm.
I did not dig enough into my research.
These are deep cuts only here
Deep
on
cuts.
the
You guys are
Yahoo
going
Sports
deep
Daily
cuts.
program. Yeah, let's get you in the win column at least. I'm feeling like fourth time is a charm here. So let's go with this name, Cash Only.
Cheapers. Okay. I mean, you know what? How about this? I'm just going to go for a perfect record, even if it's all losses. I'm going to go concoction.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
It is
Now
a
I don't have
concoction.
enough-
No relation to college baseball player Cash Money.
Yes.
Cash Only is a concoction. Cash Money, real.
Is a real collegian. Yes. Mhm.
I don't know how I feel about that level of trickery, too. The fact that there is a cash money versus a cash
Hey,
only. All right,
listen,
how about this one?
All's fair in crazy name games.
Look, whatever happened to
Coming
Jason,
from the
I know
creator
it's a
of the
good
crazy name game.
Yeah, 1,000%. How about Boopy Miller? Boopy Miller.
Booby Miller, collegian.
Boopy. Yeah, he's a collegian.
Boopy, yes, Boopy Miller's a
Yeah,
collegian.
that is a collegian. Yes. Boopy Miller lost last night. Always sad, but Boopy Miller is always winning when your name is Boopy Miller. Okay. What about this one? Esteban Brickles.
Esteban Rickles. God, you guys got good ones here. I'm gonna go concoction.
You're on a roll.
Yep.
There you go. There
Took
you
him a second.
go.
Took him a second,
He's
but now he's
heating up.
dishing. He's just all over the place. Oh, all right. How about this one? Got another one. Maximum Gizzy, and it's Gizzi. Maximum Gizzy.
Maximum Gizzy is a collegian.
Yes.
Right.
He's on a roll
Maximus.
here.
Sorry,
We
Maximus.
don't-
My bad. Maximus.
We don't have enough Maximuses.
We do not
around
have
here.
enough
Like,
Maximuses. You'd think that would have been a name that would have come up after that movie. After Gladiator came out, you think a whole bunch of people named their kid Maximus. Yeah.
You would think instead
You'd think.
McLovin caught a whole bunch of popularity after
Exactly,
Superbad.
yeah.
Where did Maximus go?
I don't know.
More
Good one,
Maximus.
To be clear, if my name
26.
if my name was Maximus, I would not be called Max. You would have to call me Maximus at all times. I just want to make
Actually,
it
full name,
Maximus
all time.
Prime, like
100%.
all time. Yeah.
You do not shorten that one. Okay, last but certainly not least, let's see if we can go off on a good note here. Lazar Djokovic.
Lazar Djokovic. I'm going to say that is a concoction. Oh,
That is
man.
not a concoction.
No.
That is a collegian. That is a real life player for Virginia Commonwealth.
For VCU. Wow. Lazar Djokovic. Lazar. It's good because one feels like an African American name and one's an Eastern European name. They got me. Your producer did a very good job here, guys. Can I ask him a question? Can I get one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
No.
please.
Let me. Now there is a collegiate player, plays for Florida State University. His name, they call him Squirrel White. Do you know Squirrel White's actual first name?
I do not.
Did I stump him? Did I stump your? This is what I love.
You've stumped all of us.
They call him Squirrel. His nickname is Squirrel. My man's real name is Marquarius White. So his real name is still an East-West Bowl name, but then he also has a great nickname. So I just want to put that one in your hopper for later.
That is well done. That is
A
well
double
done by you.
East-West.
A double
A
East-West.
rare double East-West.
Marquarius Squirrel White. Yes, there you go.
It's perfection. All right, tell everybody what you're doing with Choice Hotels and their travel value campaign.
Well, the travel values thing is the thing. It's a campaign that we're working on right now. That's really great. It's really about giving guests more value for their money and really helping them make the most out of the moments that they care about personally. So, whether they're staying at a Cambria hotel in the heart of some kind of amazing urban destination, or, they're eating free waffles at a Comfort Inn with their family before they're going to go on a road trip, or they're using our points program called Choice Privileges. You can use those on like a game day experience, or other thing, a really special thing we have are these VIP access with a company called Trackhouse Racing. And so there's all this stuff that you can do to make the most out of those moments, because that's what everybody's talking about now. Is it's not so much about the money that they're spending, but having these priceless moments that we can experience, with a couple, with your friends, with your family. And Choice Hotels really has, we believe we have the right value for any traveler out there. And so that's kind of that encompasses the travel values program that we're working on right now.
It's incredible. And speaking of moments, thank you for all the moments of enjoyment you've given us and the entire world. Your career has touched so many, including us. We're huge fans. Thank you so much for the time. Keep creating great stuff, because it gives us all the joy when we need it the most, man. Thanks for hanging out on the show.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Caroline. We'll see you guys soon. Take
Thank
care.
you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you too.
It's great
Bye-bye.
stuff from Keegan-Michael Key. We stumped him a little bit on the names. I feel pretty good about it.
I'm
More coming
not
up
gonna lie,
next
you
on
got me a
Yahoo
little
Sports
bit.
Daily.
You guys did a great job on those names, boy.
You had 27 points in your third game. What do you remember from that night?
Oh man, it was great. Once the first one drops, like I was like, okay, we're good to go. Then the second one, then the third one, and then you get to like this mode where it's kind of like unconscious. Like, it feels like practice in a way. It was just like every time I shot it, it was like I was outside playing on just like my mini hoop. You know what I mean? Outside in the front yard. It also, I think, gave my teammates confidence too. Like, damn, he probably can shoot. You know what I mean? So we should get him the ball.
What do you think is your best route, and what is your favorite route to run?
I feel like it's probably like a stop route or something.
That's a good answer.
Like a stop route. My favorite routes to run, I like to run digs.
This is from early in your rookie season. That was the best one there, was the dig route. So I think you're doing pretty well there. I like that. Okay, good answer. That was very validating for me personally, and I'm glad that you feel that way. So, okay, you mentioned...
I gave you validation.
You gave me validation, bro.
Like that.
Bro, that's what this is all about.
I like that.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first we did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around, and I think we still check up on each other.
Very
I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Beat the buzzer. Yahoo Fantasy Bracket Mayhem brackets are now open for your shot at $50,000. Fill out your men's and women's brackets for a chance to win $25K in both tournaments. Visit yahoofantasy.com/bracket mayhem to fill out your brackets now. Again, that's yahoofantasy.com/bracket mayhem. Fill out your brackets right now. You can find us on Twitter, X. We've got our show bracket out there, obviously. Lots of competition coming. Caroline, our Final Fours are very similar, so it's going to come down to the rest of the bracket that will make a huge difference. I don't know. Like, I'd love to say I feel confident and feel good. I have no idea what to expect this year in this tournament. I think we're going to see chaos. I think early rounds we're going to see blowouts, and then I think once we get to that Sweet 16 area, total chaos for all these brands.
I'm here for the chaos. That's why we love March Madness. It's not called March Madness for nothing. So I am here for the upsets and the craziness in men's and women's tournament. I am here for it. I am ready for it. Let the madness begin. It's one of the best times of the year.
I love it when small schools make statements, too, like Miami of Ohio did for all the doubters last night. Let's see if it continues. We'll be back right here tomorrow at 9 a.m. to break down all the action. Enjoy one of the best days in sports. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Come back. Watch us tomorrow.